right, I want to do two things with you. I want to show you the differences between rendering in an outside environment and rendering in an inside environment. Okay, so we're going to make two little boxes. One of them is going to have like a wall taken out. The other one is just going to be a box that's sitting on a ground plane. But make sure that you're actually modeling a ground plane first. Put that over there. So let's drop just like a big plane on the ground. Should be good enough like that. Okay. And then it doesn't really matter what size, just but try to keep it like under 10 feet. Okay, so I'm just going to do a box at the origin, and I'm going to say at 10 feet by 10 feet by 10 feet. Oh, that's right, I forgot it. Wow, that was 10 feet. My scale's way off. Ooh, really? What are my units? Oh, I'm in millimeters, that's why. I thought I selected feet. Scale. Distance. Sorry, I'm just double checking this. Let's see. Distance. Why is that not snapping? Sorry, I have to redo that. So we're going to do ground plane. I'm going to say box at 0, 0. We're going to say at 10 feet by 10 feet. And we're going to go up. You guessed it, 10 feet. You guys are familiar with Zoom Select, right? I hope so by now. All right, cool. So I got that. I got one of these. Was anybody just like totally bamboozled by what I just did? That you need me to explain some of the little tools that I used? Okay, I'm only being cautious about that because there could be a few of you amongst us who need a little bit more explanation, and that's fine, but I won't know that unless you tell me. Okay, so if I'm going too fast and you're totally bamboozled, stop me. I'll explain it a little bit slower. Because, even if you feel like you're the only one that doesn't know something in the class, I guarantee you someone else in the class doesn't know something as well. All right, so let's explode this one in the back, and I'm going to take off one of the surfaces. Okay, I'm going to jump into full-size perspective view. Now, while I'm doing that, I want you to pay attention to something. If you look at, I want every single one of you to turn on your heads-up heads-up display. Where was that again? There it is. Okay, that little button right there, I want you to turn that on. I want you to see this yellow frame, and I want you to see these two little tags at the top and bottom. Okay, and what I want you to focus on is this one right here. Okay, this little res feature or setting or whatever. When you double-click perspective and it goes down to the smaller one, notice that res changes. It switches from 605.386 to 1215.775. Any ideas why? What's that? Yeah, pixels. Okay, what pixels are they? What is it measuring? Yeah, it's measuring what we're seeing right now, right? It's measuring the viewport on my monitor. Okay, that's extremely important to understand. What you see on your monitor should pretty much never really be what you're rendering. Okay, it's always going to be a little different. We'll get into those settings later, but I do want you to know that that's there, and that's why I went into full screen, because it's bigger. Okay, so let's go back into our scene manager. Okay, you guys have the scene manager open, correct? All right, what I would like you to do is go to location and time, and we're going to switch this to Los Angeles. Just because LA is way cooler than New York. It's actually not true. I'm not a huge fan of LA. I like New York better. I like Orange County better than LA, guys. Sorry. So anyway, so we've got, let's see, we've got the day of the year is March 21st. We're at 4 p.m., so we're going to get kind of like a lower sun angle-ish. All right, let's go back to environment. Okay, so all we did there was just switch it to LA. In the environment, you guys probably started at constant dome, so let's stay at constant dome for now. What I would like you to do is once you switch to LA and just make sure constant dome is on, go ahead and hit render. If it tells you it's going to overwrite, that's fine. We're not doing any autosaves or anything like that. Oh, I've got diffuse lighting on. That's fine. Okay, so what you can tell is it's not really doing much. Okay, constant dome just means it's constant diffuse lighting. Do you know what diffuse lighting is? It's like there's light in the space, but it's not coming from any one particular area. Trying to think of a good example. Have you guys ever been in, the McDonald's and Burger King play places? You know how sometimes they have those plastic windows that are like domed, and sometimes they're frosted? Well, when you're in a space like that, right, the lighting inside a space like that, or if you're in a space with a lot of skylights and no natural light, the lighting is totally diffuse. So what happens is the sunlight rays are hitting that frosting, and it's diffusing the ray of light. So all the light particles are bouncing around everywhere in different directions rather than just giving you a solid shadow. Okay, so that's what this is doing. It's as if you're under a frosted dome. So all the light's coming in from pretty much everywhere. So go ahead. Hang on a sec. I see a lot of side chatter. You guys need a second to get caught up? Okay, so what you're seeing here is that constant frosted dome, right? So even though we have a sun, like we set a location, right? So it's supposed to be 4 o'clock, but I don't see any shadows that are casting down on my ground plane. What you have to do is going back into Maxwell. You can do a couple things. What we're going to do is switch this over to physical sky. And we're going to check the box. Well, actually, before we check the box that says use sun, just switch it over to physical sky and go ahead and hit render. Okay, I'm going to leave this one up so that you can understand the difference between checking that sun box and not checking that sun box. So when you look at this image, it looks better, right? Because it's got a sky. Kind of has like the haze on the horizon, like a physical sky would. But when I put this one aside and I check use sun, and by the way, you can do multiple renderings at the same time. So I'm just kind of moving this aside, and I'm going to say render, and I'm going to do another one. Okay, so now I've got physical sky, shows all the turbidity and stuff in the atmosphere, the ozone. And I have an actual sun angle. Okay, so that's what that checkbox does. It's a tiny little thing, but it makes a huge difference. All right, so there's one. There, 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 right? Big difference. All right. Now, before I move on to a couple of other things and showing you a few settings and stuff that we can start playing around with, I want to talk to you about the actual rendering engine. Okay, so right now this rendering is running, and I'm going to talk about all this data up here. But look at the time left. It says 3.5 hours. Okay, that's a long time for a very, very simple render with basically nothing in it. The reason is, in theory, Maxwell can render forever. You can say, I want to put it on 999 sampling levels and 9,999 minutes, but We're going to talk about those settings. Oh, look, now it just jumped up to almost 8 hours. So what you need to do when you're done with a render, if it's just a draft and you want to stop eating up the CPU, you can hit stop. Okay, that'll stop the render in its current progress. And once we get into more detailed renderings, you'll see that those sampling levels actually really do matter. But you stop it, and then you can save it, you can change it, like you can change your ISO and stuff and kind of dim it, you know, whatever you need to do. Okay, so let's close that, and let's move on to learning a little bit about a few settings.